Good morning. Welcome to the 16th Annual Illinois Legislative Latino Caucus Foundation Conference. We have an awesome venue here at the Hilton Chicago Oak Brook Hills Resort and Convention Center. How about a round of applause for everybody that helped us put this together? So before we start, I'm gonna start with a little bit of a hint for everybody. So far this morning, it has to do with networking, because that's part of why we're here. So I was fortunate this morning so far to meet Griselda Vega Samuel, who is the General Counsel of MALDEF. I just met the Villages Summit, Sergio Rodriguez, the town president. From CSC Consulting Group, Caroline Sanchez-Crozier and Yolanda Lopez. I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Reyes Gonzalez, the new president of St. Augustine College. Let's really clap for Dr. Reyes. Well, I'll admit to already knowing Elizabeth. Elizabeth Villarreal from Northeastern Illinois Illinois University, Elizabeth Villarreal, and she's a past recipient of a foundation scholarship, and also she's been helping this year with promoting the conference, and you may have seen her do a couple of interviews, so she did awesome. The last one is Michael W. Gonzalez. Hey, that's me. I have my own card. So the point is, try to meet as many people as you can today. These folks that you meet today, you know, some of which you'll probably carry with you for a long time. So I'm lucky I actually have an individual, former partner of mine who's here, Pedro Ceballos. So we met in kind of in a kind of a setting like this, way back when, and we were business partners for a few years. And so you never know what may transpire with the folks that you meet this morning and throughout the day. So this morning, I'd like to do is welcome you to the conference. We're delighted that you chose to attend. We have planned an exciting and informative conference. By the end of the day, I know you'll agree that you learned a lot, helped celebrate Latino achievements, and are energized to work toward an even more success for our Illinois Latino community in the future. I wanted to mention especially that one of the more important broadcasting organizations that we've been teaming up with over the years and that support our efforts with their public service announcements and programming is CAN TV. Big clap for those guys. They're covering today's proceedings, and their coverage will be broadcast later. We really appreciate them helping us so much over the years. Check your local listings and our website for the first broadcast times and the channels that it'll be aired on. I'd also like to thank our exhibitors and encourage you, as time permits, to visit their tables adjacent to the conference sessions. Now, I do want to mention a couple of things here before I continue. We're very privileged, the foundation, to be welcoming new members. And what I want to do is focus on the legislative members. We have Celina Villanueva, is a brand new state rep. Now she replaced Silvana Tavares, and we thank Silvana. She's now in the city council. We thank her for her past service, and also we thank her designee, Stella Gaitan. So we thank them for their service on the foundation. Also, we have Aaron Ortiz, a brand new state rep. He won a contested election. He beat or was victorious over another state rep, Dan Burke. So we thank Dan Burke and Raul Reyes for their service on the foundation. They were critical at certain times in our history. Another new state rep, Delia Ramirez. And again, you might meet these folks throughout the day. Delia Ramirez is replacing a person that retired, Representative Cynthia Soto. She'll be serving until January, and we wish her and Alice, stand up, Alice. Alice, thank you for your service on the foundation. We really, really, truly appreciate it. And in the 49th district, which is the western suburbs, we also picked up a spot in the form of new state rep-elect Karina Villa. So we're looking forward to working with her. I don't believe she'll be here today, but we're very proud of her achievement in walking, knocking, talking to lots of people, hundreds of people in her campaign. She picked up 14,000 votes from primary to her general election. That's a big achievement. So at this point, I'd like to introduce one of our co-chairs, Representative Fred Crespo. He also was victorious in his election. Fred, where are you? Fred's on his way up. But again, thank you. Have a great day. Do that networking. We'll be back with you a little bit later. Thanks. Thank you all so much.
Muy buenos días a todos. If we can have a hand for Michael Gonzalez, is what I call he's been with the foundation for the last 16 years, and he is who I call the heart and soul of our foundation. We are where we are today because of his effort. Sometimes it's easier than other times, but he's been there, and because of him, we are here today. He acknowledged the newcomers coming to the Illinois House and Senate. I want to recognize some of the ones who have been here for a while. Our co-chair, Marty Sandoval, will be here this afternoon. I want to recognize as well Jaime Andrade. I'm not sure if Jaime Andrade is here. Omar Aquino, State Senator Omar Aquino, State Representative Luis Arroyo, State Representative Danny Burke, Senator Cristina Castro. If you're here, please stand up. State Representative Linda Chapalavia, Representative Will Guzzardi, and one of the perhaps greatest advocates when it comes to immigration, our great friend, State Representative Lisa Hernandez. Can give her a hand. She's fabulous. We have State Representative Teresa Ma. Okay, and our great friend, State Senator Iris Martinez. Representative Anna Moeller, State Senator Antonio Munoz, State Representative Cynthia Soto. Is she here? Not yet? Okay. We heard State Representative Selena Villanueva. She did take her seat. And State Representative Kathleen Willis. Where's Kathleen Willis? And we have our former state senator, and he was very, very instrumental in making this happen, former Senator Miguel del Valle, who's in the back. So actually, Sir Marty Sandoval was supposed to open up this morning. He's running a little bit late, so I'm just going to read what he was supposed to say today. And it was just basically give you some background of the Latino Foundation. In 2002, Latino members of the Illinois legislature, as well as other leaders in our community, convened to create an organization with three main purposes. One, to help develop a new generation of informed, skilled, and effective Latino leaders who would help shape public policy. Two, to provide scholarships for outstanding Latino men and women who are pursuing their educational goals. And three, to empower Illinois Latinos by increasing understanding of and access to federal, state, and community programs in areas such as employment, immigration, health and human services, education, businesses, and the development of civic leadership. I should add that this is perhaps the largest Latino conference in the country. Usually we have this in Rosemont. We changed the venue this year. One of the benefits of doing that is we saved a lot of money. And because of that, we're able to give out more scholarships, which is what this is all about. Now, I've been a member of Latino Caucus for 12 years. And I've attended these conferences in the past, and I know a lot of work goes into this conference. But now that I'm co-chair Latino Caucus, I realize how much work goes into this thing. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the people who really made this happen. And I want to acknowledge our good friend, Ron Perlman. Where's Ron Perlman? Ron, thank you so much, because without you, this wouldn't happen. And he has a great staff. And I also want to acknowledge Jim Sable. Where's Jim? Jim is around. Jim, thank you so much. You've done a fabulous, fabulous job. And Sylvia Rogel, I'm not sure, I haven't seen her yet, but Sylvia's done a fantastic job in putting this together, too. So, again, I've seen firsthand how much work goes into doing this, especially when you have a new venue, and I think they've done a great job. I also want to thank all my colleagues in the General Assembly for their work in advancing legislation to ensure that we help our Latino population in the state of Illinois. I can tell Latinos in this room and Latinos throughout the state that you are in good hands. This is a great group of people representing you in the state of Illinois. I also wanted to thank my Latino caucus members for allowing me to serve as co-chair for the last 2 years. I thought this was going to be easy. It's not. So if you decide to do this, think about it, but it's very rewarding. We've done some good things the last couple of years. Our theme today is securing our economic future, but it's also a day to celebrate the accomplishments and successes and aspirations of young men and women who are attending college and will be the future leaders of Illinois. So we will have a luncheon today. We will acknowledge and introduce you to the scholarship recipients. We will also have a reception at the end of the event, so I'll ask you to please join us. We have a special visitor today that I'm going to give her a couple of minutes. It's someone that I served in the General Assembly with, futura alcaldesa de Chicago. And I'm looking forward to seeing her in that office. We're very excited to have not only a Latino running for that office, but a female Latina, which is great. So obviously I'm a male. I'm going to share a real quick story with you. So growing up as a kid, I went to an all-boys school. And I remember as a young kid, I was from kindergarten all the way through high school, an all-boys school, De La Salle in Puerto Rico. And every night I used to go to bed and say, God, please, when I grow up, I want to be surrounded by women. So I learned my lesson. There is a God, and he listens, but be very, very careful. Because, obviously, I've been married now for 31 years. My firstborn, Jennifer's a girl. Secondborn, Stephanie, a girl. We have a dog at home, a girl. And my mother-in-law lives with me, too. But because of that, I'm a better man. And I'm so much wiser, and I'm very grateful that he did listen to my prayers. And with that, I definitely want to ask our good friend to come up and say a few words. I'm really looking forward to her campaign. And if you can please come up. Susana Mendoza, our dear friend.
Buenos dias. So I'd like to say that as wise as I feel my friend Freddie Crespo is here, he's not wise enough because he did put the dog before the mother-in-law, okay? Just saying. Le voy a decir. Si te portas mal, ya sé cómo. Right. Right? Iris and I were like, he put the dog before the mother-in-law. You don't do that. I know where she stands right here. I'm sorry. Priorities in the house. But I actually did think, I bet he's got a female dog, too. And I was right. So anyway, good morning. It's really great to be here. I want to say thank you to all of you who voted for me to be your controller. Thank you. I have been trying to lead the resistance to Bruce Rauner. I've been leading the resistance to Bruce Rauner the last 2 years since I was elected. Yep. And thanks to all of you, we now have a new governor. And that is an amazing thing. I'm very happy. I did make a commitment during the campaign that obviously, like many people, did not expect the mayor to step down from the city of Chicago. And it happened just about a month or two before my race. And clearly, I absolutely love, I hope you really understand that I love being controller of the state of Illinois. And I've especially enjoyed being controller during, maybe I'm a masochist, but during the Bruce Rauner reign of terror. Because I felt like I was the last line of defense for taxpayers in the state of Illinois with a governor who was doing everything within his power to decimate our state's finances, but more importantly, and worse yet, really break apart the moral fabric of our state. So that's what I was fighting against. And I had said that should he, for some godforsaken reason that we could never understand, get reelected, that I would not think about running for mayor. I wouldn't do it because my bigger fight would be in Springfield, really, across the state of Illinois, standing up to Bruce Rauner. I'm happy to say that Bruce Rauner got his butt kicked on Election Day, and that's in large part because people came out and said that we are going to put, we want a state that has a moral compass, and a state that looks to make its finances work for everyone. And I believe truly, and I've given it a lot of thought, but the reason I announced my candidacy for mayor is because I feel that the biggest challenge that lies ahead that I feel that I can best tackle is the future for the city of Chicago. I was born in that city. I grew up for a part of my life in that city. I was 7 years old going on 8 when my parents left Little Village, which is the neighborhood that I grew up in and that I love. But, or the neighborhood I was born in, I should say. But because of gang violence, my parents just were fearful for our lives. There was someone who was shot dead on our block, and my mom said, that's enough. And this isn't a unique story. I mean, unfortunately, we hear this story a lot all across the city in the neighborhoods. And my parents did what lots of other parents did, and that was, pack up and leave, thinking that that was the only way that they could protect their kids. But over the years, of course, we kept coming back to Little Village. We get our haircuts there. That's where we'd buy our arroz, tortillas, and carne del, carnicero, because they didn't have that stuff in Woodridge, Illinois, where we moved. And I never lost touch with the community, and I always grew up, like as a teenager and then a young adult, knowing that when I graduated college someday, I would come back to that very same neighborhood and try to make a difference. And that's what I did. I came back immediately after graduating from college, and that's where I got my political start, and I'll never forget that. And so I just feel that this election for mayor is not just about the next 4 years. And as important as those next 4 years are, it's really about the next generation and what kind of city we want to leave and what kind of city we want to be for the next generation. So I look forward to really working with everyone across the city, all voices. And I can tell you that I'm so happy that I get the opportunity to run as the daughter of Mexican immigrants. That is something that I'm proud of. I don't shy away from it. But I also know that I've had some opportunities in life to get a good education in a safe environment. And today I have a 5-year-old son who's a little boy that just started kindergarten at CPS. And we're going to be in the CPS system for the next 13 years. I'm proud of it. So we have the biggest skin in the game, my husband and I, in terms of just parents. And it's the same skin in the game that every other parent across the city has, who sends their children, their precious cargo, off to school. And I want to make sure that those kids end up having a safe environment the way I did growing up in the suburbs, and you shouldn't have to move out of the city to have access to that safe environment. So I hope you join me in helping to actually shape the future of Chicago together. And I know that together there's nothing we can't do. So thank you so much for having me. Congratulations to the Latino Caucus. I was one of the founding members. It feels like 100 million years ago, Iris. Right? It does. That was, I don't even know, was that 2002 or something like that? Yeah. But you guys have taken it a long way, and most importantly, this is all about the scholarship. So as the state's chief fiscal officer, when I heard that you moved the venue to save some money, that's a good thing. So save the money, put it towards the scholarships, and let's mold their futures together as well. Thank you so much. Love you guys.
Thank you, Susanna. It feels like we started this thing back in 1898. It's been so long. So for those of you who don't know me, I represent the northwest suburbs, Schaumburg, Streamwood, Henwood Park, Hoffman Estates, and Elgin and Bartlett. I want to acknowledge some of the families from my district and U46. Can you guys stand up real quick, please, from the U46 school district? So there, U46, these are some of the parents in the Elgin area. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And U46 happens to be the second largest school unit in the state of Illinois after Chicago. Over 50% of the student population is Latino. So we're seeing more Latinos outside of the Chicago area, so I'm very proud of that. And talking about strong, accomplished women, it's an honor for me to introduce our dear good friend, Senadora Iris Martinez, who's going to introduce our opening speaker. I've known Iris since I became a state rep 12 years ago. She's one of our true leaders in the General Assembly. I'm very proud to call her a friend. And Senadora, por favor.
I had a chance. I'm State Senator Iris Martinez. So happy to see you here today. I'm glad. I mean, it makes me happy to see that while we changed our venue, great to see that many of you have come back with us, and we have a lot of new people here, and I'm very excited. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great year for us in the legislative process, because now we do have a Democratic governor, finally. That is exciting for us, because now we can get real work done. I can guarantee you there will be no more budget impasse ever again under this governor, and many more to come. And you know what? I see someone, I just happen to look that way, and I see someone that he's the reason why I am here. And it's almost like I got my teacher looking at me, Senator Miguel del Valle. Wow, good to see you. Sometimes I call Miguel when things are bad, and I tell him, why did I take this job again? He knows that I'm always calling him about little things like that, you know, but thank you to Miguel, who really believed in me from day one, and here I am 16 years later, and I feel so great, still energized, still ready to keep working. And, you know, Miguel, I always say thank you. Thank you for bringing me to this job that I love, and that I every day, you know, I go to Springfield, the 6 months that we're there, and I really give it my very best. And thank you for opening my eyes to a different kind of a world where I can make a difference for my community. And thank you for that, Miguel. I really appreciate that. So let me introduce you to a great lady. I had a chance to sit with her and talk a little bit about what she does in California. And I'm just amazed. You're going to be amazed at the things this lady is going to share with you. She's a fighter. She's a first in many aspects, like muchas mujeres somos the first, but we're not going to be the last. But more important is the fact that her heart, her education, her commitment has been in education. She's an assistant superintendent in California, soon to be, because I already have my eyes, she's going to be a superintendent in California one day soon. I know that. She is a fighter. She says to me, we were talking about that she sits on a board that is 4 white old men. And she's the only Latina there. So that's always great. I should love to see those meetings. I mean, they really probably have a little spark coming out of you, because not of the other 4. I know that. So, but I want to just bring her up and just say thank you, Emy, for being here. I know you have a great story to share with us about your accomplishments, but more important is what your future of California and the students in California is. So I want to bring up Dr. Emy Flores from Fullerton, California.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you. I spend most of my time advocating for Latino students in Fullerton, which is a town 5 minutes away from Disneyland, because Fullerton doesn't mean much to anybody, in Orange County, California. Now, when I speak of Orange County, besides the fires, most people think of the beautiful beaches, amusement parks, and they tell me how fortunate I am to live in such a wonderful place. And to a great degree, I believe that they are simply correct. But what they don't know is that Orange County is an ultra-conservative and non-inclusive community where inequalities for Latinos are still present in many facets of life. And while progress has been made, racial and ethnic inequalities are still very much prevalent in daily lives. And as shared earlier, in my own school district, there has never been a Latino superintendent. And until 2 years ago, we never had a Latino or Latina on the school board. This, despite the fact that we have 52% of our students in our community are Latinos. So it goes without saying that being here to discuss the economic future of Latinos energizes me and gives me great hope for our future. Something that I've learned from my interactions today, talking to several of you, is that not only is the Illinois Latino Legislative Caucus a voice and a champion for the Latino community, but it's also a powerhouse with great impact on policy related to important issues such as immigration, education, economy, and business, to name a few. In conversations with you have made it very clear that you absolutely believe in the unlimited and untapped potential of the Latino community. And I mention that because I believe that there is great power in our beliefs. I am certain that without this belief, you would not be here. I believe that without this belief, you would not be so successful in advocating for the Latino community. I also mention this because I am convinced that this belief is extremely important if we are to drive change. I have learned that if you're in an education, you're an educator, and you hold on to this belief, you too can drive change. You too can accomplish great things, and you too can have influence. Today, I want to expand on this belief to show how it can manifest itself in schools, how this core belief is a catalyst for change, and how this belief can transform our practices and ultimately change the trajectory of our children's lives. I want to talk about the power of this belief, how it impacts our work in schools, and how it will make and continues to make a significant difference. But before I do that, I want to share with you a couple things about me, as these experiences have shaped my life and my trajectory. I want to share with you one of my most painful experiences in life, and that happened when I was 9 years old, when my mother told me that I would be going to the United States. Not with her or anybody else, but she would be sending me with my sister, to live with my sister. Now, I remember it as if it were just yesterday. My family has saved enough money to go visit a town named Antigua in Guatemala. Now, the concept of visiting somewhere and staying at a hotel and eating at a restaurant was actually a very foreign concept to me. I mean, back home, we barely had running water. We still had an outhouse, and we lived a very humble campesino lifestyle. So as we were there in Antigua, my mother pointed to the beautiful architecture, and she took me aside, and she said to me that she felt that I was so special to her and that she loved me so much, and that the lifestyle that I saw there, because there were so many tourists in the town, that was a lifestyle that was also destined for me, that I would achieve great things. That day, she looked into my eyes and she said, you know, you have the potential to be anything, but it's not going to happen in this country. And with that in mind, that's what she actually told me, that she would be sending me to Guatemala. Now, I have to share with you that the saddest thing about this was the moment that I left my home, because I was sitting in the back seat of that bus, and all I could see was my mother in the distance as the bus took off, and all I wanted to do was go back and hug her and be in her arms. So that's one experience that has really shaped my life, to think about, I have unlimited potential, and I am destined to be a great woman. Now, the second experience I want to share with you is that when I was in 4th grade, we had a visit from a DARE officer. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the DARE program. That's the Dare to Say No to Drugs campaign. That morning, like almost every morning, I found it very difficult to concentrate because I had been kept awake by the gunfire in the neighborhood, by the sirens in the background, by the muffled sounds of my neighbors fighting, and oldies blasting in the background. So I sat there that morning trying to do my best to concentrate. And at the end of that lesson, their officer asked us, what do you want to be when you grow up? And all these arms shot up, and kids say, I want to be an astronaut, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a football player, I want to be a teacher. Do you know that nobody said, I want to be a prostitute, I want to be in jail by age 13, I want to be found dead at the bottom of Hollenbeck Park Lake? That is not what kids were thinking of. They had so many dreams, and they believed that they could. Now, in those days, kids were basically just trying to survive. And there were many campaigns within our community, such as the DARE program, that aimed to educate us. But they really did not tap onto the realities and the difficulties and the societal problems that we were dealing with. This is actually a picture of where I lived during that time. And our teachers, while well-meaning, had what I call the poor mijo mentality and taught us from a survival perspective instead of a thriving perspective. And our teachers taught us from the I taught it perspective, not I taught it and you learned it perspective. And so I went through the process of, like many of our kids in our community, I always knew that I could do so much more, that I could accomplish anything and become anything. I knew that I was destined to become a great woman, because guess what? My mother told me so. She believed in my unlimited potential, and there was no way that I was going to let her down. And despite the challenges I experienced growing up, I chose to learn from them and not let anything get in my way. It was not easy as I faced racism and sexism along the way. And each time that a wall went up, I found a way to go around it, over it, under it, and many times through it. I feel so strongly about the unlimited, untapped potential of our Latino community. For me, the place where I knew I could make the greatest difference was in education, because that's where I believe the rubber meets the road. That's where we have the power to shape the experiences that our children will carry with them throughout adulthood. You see, our children are not throwaway kids. The kids from my neighborhood, they were not throwaway kids. And I certainly was not a throwaway child. Our children are beautiful, they're inquisitive, they're intelligent, they're mighty, and they can accomplish anything. But this will not happen through osmosis, and it is up to each of us to make that change. Excuse me, I need to drink some water. Now for me, I look at things through the global perspective. My scope is large, and I aim to prepare our students to achieve anything. And despite the rhetoric coming from he who shall not be named, we lived in a global community where by nature of our technologies, we are connected in some way. Technology has allowed us to expand communications across the globe and has increased our opportunities to collaborate, to problem solve creatively, and to innovate. Technology has opened doors and opportunities and essentially, in many ways, leveled the playing field for many. And unlike any other time in history, individuals from anywhere, in any social class, can compete with others from around the world. It is my goal to provide students with access to the world beyond the walls of their classroom, beyond the walls of their community, as I aim to equip them with the foundational skills, the exposure, the understanding that they need to navigate their world. The universe in which our children must compete and succeed has rapidly been transformed by groundbreaking and rapidly evolving technologies, and I aim to prepare them for this current and present future. So how have I done this? To begin with, I look at this from an economic perspective. Simply put, people need jobs. Without jobs, we lose hope for a future. Heck, my parents spent some time in the United States. Yes, they had jobs, My father washed dishes, and my mother cleaned bathrooms, toilets. But guess what? That's all they could do given their knowledge and skills in language. Well, those are not the jobs that I want my kids to have. So where are the jobs? The data tells us that jobs are in the area of STEM. Our world has changed, and it calls for skills related to technology, to science, to engineering and mathematics. The data tells us that. If you look at this, by 2020, between 2010 and 2020, only 14% of all jobs were in all occupations, and everything else is in STEM. Today's students are tomorrow's workforce. It is estimated that the size of STEM job vacancies by 2020, 2 years from now, is going to be at 2,600,000. And if our kids are not equipped to take those jobs, we are taking away opportunities from them. We know that STEM is really key to our country's economic future, yet we are falling behind other countries. And for Latinos, we are falling even further behind. In Illinois alone, Latinos represent 16% of all employed, and 7%, yet only 7% of STEM jobs go to Latinos. So the question I have, how do we best prepare students for the future? How can we ensure that they have the economic opportunities in the job market? And how do we shape programs where each individual child's educational experience toward this end is a priority? What I have here is a slide that I frequently use with my principals when I mention that at the center of everything that we do is the child. I look at it through the perspective of a parent. Each of us, whether we're a parent or whether we have a nephew or niece, that special person, what do we want for them? We want the best. We'll even go into that school and fight for them. Oh no, you are not treating my kid this way. So why don't we do that for every child? My 3 children went through my school. I was a principal for 11 years. And I worked in some very difficult neighborhoods. But here's my perspective. If my school's not good enough for my child, why would it be good for anybody else's child? When we approach education and everything that we do from the perspective of a parent, what is it that we want for that very special person who we love? That's when things change. But why STEM literacy? Well, as the slide tells you, STEM literacy will directly impact an individual's ability to contribute to economic success of both the nation and the global economy. And why not our kids? If the future of jobs is for other people, why not for our kids? So I want to share with you some of the experiences I had as a principal and now as assistant superintendent, because a lot of these things are easy to say, but how do we do it? Now, takes me back to the time when we had iPods. iPads were not even available, and I know people are not so impressed with classrooms having one-to-one, but in those days, that was not the case. I went into a school where we had almost 700 students. 87% of them were in free or reduced lunch, and you can see the data. 89% Latinos. We were the worst school in the school district. We were one of the worst schools, one out of 483 worst schools in California. And we had some real challenges. Yes, we were a program improvement school, not in year 1, 2, 3, 4, but in year 5. And our teaching approach at that time was from the deficit model, either blaming the child, blaming their parents, or from, oh, pobrecito, let me not challenge you because you might not be able to do it. Or the deficit model that says, I taught it, I'm sorry, maybe you don't have the skills to learn it. And our teachers were really unfamiliar with technology. In fact, they were very unfamiliar with teaching strategies that work. Our children were disengaged, and our curriculum was outdated. So we set out. I went in, and I had to have some very honest conversations with my staff about why we were there and about our fit. Because it's not always about whether we are a good fit for the school, but is the school a good fit for me? Because if I cannot embrace the diversity of my children, if I'm going to blame everybody, then perhaps this school is not for me, and I'm not a good fit. And guess what? No shame or blame. Bye-bye, go away, hire somebody else who shares that belief. And so we set out to prepare our students with the skills they need to compete in our global society by individualizing the experience for each child. I have the word highlighted, each child, because my own child is important. And if my own child is important, each child in our school, in our building was important. I also brought in my own youngest child, and I say, guess what? Gabrielle will now be coming to our school. And I did make the statement, if our school is not good enough for anybody else's kids, for our child, why would it be good enough for anybody else's kid? Being assertive as a Latina, unfortunately, is not always seen as a positive thing. And I'm actually gonna use a word, excuse me, but when you're a woman, oftentimes, and you have conviction and you have a voice, you're a bitch. Yet, if you're a man and you have conviction and you have a voice, you're a leader. Well, I don't buy that. And so I went in with my conviction and my assertiveness to make sure that we were going to make a change and impact in the lives of children. We aim to increase their engagement because school should be fun. And we wanted to create a sense of belonging so that they could feel safe, because for many of our kids, that was the only place where they felt safe. And guess what? Great things can happen when you organize yourself, when you stop trying to do everything and you narrow the focus on what is important. We use technology not for the sake of saying, look at my bling. We've got iPods in every classroom when nobody else did. But because technology was an avenue to engage students, to disguise the learning, because we knew that we were competing against everything else that seems a lot more interesting than school. And because we also understood that children needed to have capacities, they needed to learn how to work together, to collaborate, to communicate, to create, and to innovate. We're planting seeds of success for our children. And so guess what? Great success happened. And I don't share this with you to say, look at us, I'm bragging, but to say that the school that no one believed could accomplish anything did. There is great power in our belief. And there's great power of having conviction and being assertive in those convictions. We increased by 132 points. And we increased attendance from 95% to 98%. That's the most significant accomplishment for me, because kids wanted to be at school. When a child wakes up in the morning, I hope that a child says, oh, I get to go to school, instead of, oh, I have to go to school. So now, I'm at a school district. Again, the only Latina to sit in cabinet ever. And I'm sitting with 4 white men. And the conversations are quite interesting. And because I have already proven a track record of success, and because I have already competed with, I'm looking at you and you're telling me it's 3 minutes, and it threw me off because I have a lot more to say, okay? Okay, but because I have already planted relationships in the community, I'm able to say certain things that maybe I wasn't able to before, and I'm able to share and have an opinion. And my school board has actually become comfortable with it. In my school, we have 20 schools, And you can see the data there. 50% of my students are from Latino, and 30% of them are free and reduced, reduced lunch rate. Our goal as a district is to prepare our students with the skills they need to compete in our global society. Again, a lot of the same goals that we had when I was school principal. I also function from this perception that you don't know what you don't know. So if we do not expose children to the technologies out there, to the experiences, how's it gonna happen? We live 5 minutes away from Disneyland. Most of my kids have never been there. We live 20 minutes away from the beach. Most of my kids have not been there. And guess what? Until we provide the experiences and exposure to artificial intelligence, augmented reality, app development, engineering, game design, until we do it, they're probably not gonna get it. We're a kinder through 8th grade school district where we know that our kids are not gonna be with us for high school. So guess what? We have a middle college program where they could earn college credits before they go into high school. I'm gonna zoom through my slides because I'm already in trouble. Let me show you some pictures here. Okay, this is what we promise our kids, right? You're gonna have a great experience, and unfortunately in education, what do we give them? Worksheets. Well, that's not gonna happen in my school district, in my 20 buildings, because we are going to engage kids, because we're gonna make school fun, because we're gonna help them create and innovate, because we are building bridges, and we are exposing our kids to their future. We aim to inspire our students to innovate, to create, to dream big, and to realize that the world is their oyster. And along the way, we have earned many awards for doing so. But that's not the big deal. That's not what this is about. It's about this. Because we know that our kids are exposed to this. And we know that our kids can become this. So when we ask a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? We want children to feel mighty. We want them to have the self-efficacy, the knowledge. When they look at themselves in the mirror, we want them to know that they are mighty, that they can do anything. Like you, I believe in the unlimited and untapped potential of the Latino community. I want children to know that they can accomplish anything. They can become anything. I want them to know that they are destined for greatness. Thank you.